This is Aminata on Easter morning, and it's actually day 4. Who would have thought? This morning I was walking, and something came to me to tell you this story. Now most of you know that I have 3 sons, and everybody knows about the oldest one, who's the artist. Everybody generally knows about the youngest one, who's the athlete. But there's a middle one, and he's actually the performer. He's a singer. He writes songs, plays music, dances, theater. That's his thing. And I don't talk to him about him a whole lot out of respect and deference to his story. But I talked with him yesterday, and he gave me permission. Because besides all those things, he also struggles with depression and some learning disabilities. So from day one, he has a hard time finding his place in the world in spite of all his gifts. And so 6 years ago, depression got to a point where I got a call from the school, and they were very alarmed because it was exam week and he was not doing his exams but writing all kinds of stuff on these exam papers, which were alarming. So they called me. We discussed, what should we do? Do I have to come get him? They said, no, we got an eye on him. In the meantime, I called his counselor, and his counselor, what should we do? Come to you? He's like, no, take him to the hospital, to behavioral unit. In the meantime, I called the school parent, explained a little bit, and they said, we'll take care of Nassim, we'll take care of him. So all these things were set in motion. And so when he came home, I let him do his paper route first. If not, I would have had to do that. But I let him do his paper route, and then I was like, I got a call from the school, some alarming news. And he was like, well, yeah, I was feeling stressed and I had to express that. And then, so I kept talking, well, this is more than just stress. It's a little concerning, and I've talked with your counselor. We think maybe we should get some more help, because I wasn't sure if he would be willing to go to the hospital, but he was. So luckily, out of his own will, he went with me, and we went. And then you sit there, and then you talk or listen, because he was talking, and as he is expressing about the desire to take his life, and when they asked him, if you were to leave and you would feel like that, would you tell your mother? He said no, he wouldn't. And my heart just dropped. And so then they looked at me, and then they took me out, and they said, we can't let him come home. So they kept him. And I cannot tell you, when I left that hospital, by then it was nighttime, the utter loneliness and helplessness, to leave your child. I immediately called his father, and that wasn't very helpful, but at least he had the right to know, and I had to inform him, and so I left it at that. And to go from there, and he was in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and after that in day treatment, and in particular when he was in day treatment, it was next to the YMCA, and it was far enough from home that it wouldn't make sense for me to drop him off for 4 hours and then go home and then come back. And so I went to the YMCA, and I was a member in my town. And so then you can have a guest pass for $5 a day. For some reason, they're like, you don't have to pay. And then I started walking. And it was one of those Ys where you walk into a circle, and like 16 times around is a mile. And so usually, I could do 16, or, so I would do that and stop. But this time, it's like when you are rock bottom, because I was. I couldn't even cry anymore. I didn't have tears. I was just empty. But the one thing I could do is to put one foot in front of the other. The one thing I could do was breathe. And I was like, fuck this. I'm just going to keep putting one foot in front of the other and breathe until, as long as my lungs are not bursting, as long as my leg can keep moving. And so I did, because nothing made sense anymore. But at least that I knew how to do. At least I could walk, and at least I could breathe. And, and it was like my legs started talking to me. It's like, we got you. We got you. We got you through all this stuff. We'll get you through this. And I just kept walking. And I looked up, and I'd done like 42 times around. And the same thing happened in the swimming pool. Usually when it comes to freestyle, I can do like 10, breaststroke I can do more, but freestyle I can do 10, and then I'm like, okay. But now it's like, and I just kept going. Next thing you know, I had done like 25. And so that's what saved me. The walking and the swimming. And so then from there, I signed up at the Y for a triathlon, and, on your own time, not in one day, but you spread it out. And I did that. So that's what saved me as far as, going back to at least I can do this, bring it back to the basics. That's what saved me. But the other thing that saved me were also the people that supported me, that counselor, the people at the school, the family that took Nassim, the pastor from the church who I called and who was there the next day. I could not have made it without them. And then I also was saying, and all these were white people. And I want to say that on purpose because, especially, sometimes you want to have people that look like you. You don't know where your help might come from. You don't know what your help might look like. But I will be forever grateful how they supported me, how they supported my children, and I wouldn't be here or not in this state if it wasn't for them. And again, I had, this morning as I was walking, again, this whole thing about these legs carrying you through and the basics of that, And so, those are the two things I was told I had to share with you. So this whole thing, sometimes help is right in front of you and you're waiting for it to look differently. And so then you don't accept it or you overlook it. But you don't know what it might look like. And it might save you. And the other thing is, when things seem so big that you can't handle it, that you don't know, it's okay not to know. You bring it down to the basics. At least I can walk. At least I can breathe. That's what I went back to. That's what I'm doing now. Some of you out there cannot walk outside the house still, What can you do? Bring it down to the basics. And sometimes it's not even about knowing how to make it to the next day. Sometimes it's just about, let me make it through this hour. How can I bring it down to the basics and make it to this hour? Because that's how I was walking. I wasn't even, anything I thought I knew, all my educational training, it didn't make a difference because my child was not well and I couldn't help him. And I had to hand him over to people who could. So did not, so I don't know. I just had to share that and want you to have a good day and know that there are people out there who are willing to help, who might show up unexpectedly. Don't reject them. Don't reject them. Have a good day.